Welcome back to Culture Shock. I'm your host. As always, my name is Sam Land, and today we're going to start something new. This is the Festival Field Guide, as I'm calling it, for 2023. Going to run through festival tips, tricks, news, all of the above between now and festival season, because it's approaching very, very quickly. Over the past couple of months, we've been starting to get all our lineups for this year. We're kind of only waiting on one last one, which is Glastonbury. But I'm not going to touch on that because I haven't got tickets. I'm not going. Majority of you lot probably aren't going. There's no need for me to discuss it. We know Elton John's going to be there. Cool. We like Elton John. Good for him. But you and your friends, as summer approaches, might be discussing which festivals to go to this year. So I thought I'd run down all of the lineups that we've currently got. I probably missed some. I probably missed like your local festival that has like one sort of decent sized band on it and then a bunch of local cover acts. Ignore that. Gonna run down all the festival lineups, see who's playing where, what might take your fancy, and yeah, go from there. If you do enjoy today's video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. What festivals are you lot going to be going to over summer? It's shaping up to be a really good year for some festivals and some questionable year for some other festivals. But without further ado, let's get into Festival Field Guide Episode 1, the lineups. Up first, the big one for a lot of people and maybe the only festival they're going to do or are even aware of, obviously Reading and Leeds. Taking place over August Bank Holiday weekend. Tickets are still readily available because the reaction to this lineup has not been the greatest, but let's run through it. So for our headliners, we've got Billie Eilish, Imagine Dragons, Sam Fender, Foals, The Killers and Lewis Capaldi. Like I said, there's been a lot of backlash to this lineup. A lot of people just don't think it's lived up to, especially the past like 2 or 3 years of Reading and Leeds. Personally, I don't hate it, but it is missing that wow factor for me. I'm not sure why Imagine Dragons are there. Who knows? Are they paid Reading and Leeds to perform? No one asked for it, but they're there. No one's gonna go. Like, if you're gonna go see Imagine Dragons at Reading and Leeds, you're going to a festival for the wrong reason. Billie Eilish is our big female name for this year, which is something that a lot of people have touched on this year's lineup not being as diverse as last year's lineup. This is only the first announcement, so it could be changed. Personally, though, I'm pretty happy with Billie as our one big female headline, obviously mega star at this point. But I do think there were some big names that were missed out, like Paramore were pretty heavily rumoured, but I digress. Sam Fender and Foals, I think both really solid headliners. Sam Fender, he's all the rage right now, booking while he's hot. Foals, excellent live band. There's the argument to be made, they're not big enough anymore to headline Reading and Leeds, but I don't care. I think Foals are unreal, and as of recording this, it's the 10-year anniversary of Holy Fire. Great record. Inhaler by Foals is an incredible tune. Inhaler, the band, are also on this lineup. Can't go wrong with the Killers, can you? Everyone likes a bit of Mr. Brightside, but they've got like the other bangers. Read My Mind, banger. Even their new stuff, like, isn't bad. Like, the past 2 albums are pretty solid. The most recent single, Boy, is surprisingly good. I'm really looking forward to the Killers. They're going to be closing the Sunday at Leeds, which means the Saturday at Reading. I think it'll be an excellent set. There were talks that the Killers were a late booking, hence why the lineup was pushed back a little bit, with the main name being thrown about is Green Day possibly being pulled out. How true that is, I have no comment on, but I'm happy with the Killers as a replacement. If it is true, I'm happy with the Killers anyway. And then last but not least, Lewis Capaldi, possibly the name in it that's caused the most like controversy somehow. He's a massive name, like he more than deserves this headline spot. Did a few smaller festivals last year. Did Transmit last year, Latitude, Isle of Wight. Some of really, really solid sets. Personally, I actually quite like Lewis Capaldi. I saw him live back in January. Puts on a really good live show. And I think he'll be like a dark horse headline performance. I think a lot of people maybe go not expecting much and then just leave actually just having seen a really good live show. You got some other really good acts on this lineup, like Loyal Kana, Bicep, Steve Lacy, which most people are going to just know Bad Habit, but he's got some other tunes, doesn't he? Central C supporting under the Killers, Nothing But Thieves there as well. And everyone's favourite band, Wet Leg. I'm going to go, I'm going to have a good time, go have a good weekend, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Now, Your other big festival for this year is obviously Download, to celebrating their 20th anniversary, with the headliners this time around being Bring Me the Horizon, Slipknot and Metallica playing 2 unique sets on the Thursday and the Saturday. It's a very predictable set of headliners, but I think most people are happy with those 3. What Download needs heavily is like introducing new bands into the lineup, and I think Bring Me is the correct choice to be that fresh new headline band. Slipknot, Download fans are going to like that. I like Slipknot. I'm not going to see him, however. I'm going to go on Friday for Bring Me. Not going to see Slipknot, unfortunately. And Metallica, legend act at this point, and they've got enough songs to do 2 completely unique sets. But Download have also completely stacked their undercard. Bands like Alexis on Fire, Architects, The Distillers, Pendulum, Disturbed, Evanescence, Ghost, Asking Alexandria, Lorna Shore are there, Nothing Nowhere, Modson. I think Download have done an absolutely amazing job with their lineup this year. Obviously having that extra day to fill out kind of gives them more space to play around with. If you want something more alternative like Download, but you don't want to do a big festival or you don't have the budget, there are obviously smaller options. My personal pick is Slam Dunk. Obviously taking place at Leeds, Temple Newsam and then Hatfield Park on 2 separate days. Only a day event, but I think they've absolutely smashed it again this year. Headliners The Offspring and Enter Shikari. I'm not a massive Enter Shikari fan, but I think that's a solid headline set. But they've absolutely stacked their undercard with some really good new bands in the alternative scene. You got bands like Creeper and Wargasm UK, Movements, Trash Boat. My personal pick for artist of the lineup is Boston Manor. I think they're an incredible band, one of my favourite bands I've ever heard. I think if you're into your alternative music, Slam Dunk would definitely be just a good day out. If you are north of the border, you've obviously got some choice here with Transmit, taking place in Glasgow between the 7th and 9th of July. Now personally, this lineup isn't really for me, but I think they've done a really good job at building a lineup for a different crowd, and it's obviously going to attract people in. Your headliners this time around being Pulp, Sam Fender and the 1975. Sam Fender having slowly worked his way up the stage over the past few years, starting out on the small stage and now he's headlining the main stage on the Saturday. Pulp, massive legend act at this point, like that's going to bring in some big crowds, and the 1975 are the band at the moment. They've kind of done an unofficial 6 headliner thing, because underneath them you've got George Ezra, Kasabian and Royal Blood, who you could argue are 3 bands or 3 acts that could be headliners, especially considering all 3 of them are headlining other festivals this year, and we'll get onto them in a bit. Outside of the names that we've just mentioned, there's not a whole lot of other people on this lineup that catch my eye. You got acts like Nile Hobbit and Inhaler, both are really good. I think Transmit have done a pretty solid job, but it's just personally not for me. Now the next lineup I want to talk about is Parklife. I think they kind of came through with like this sleeper hit of a lineup. They've been teasing H pretty heavily to the point of like it was the worst kept secret in any festival lineup, which left me kind of worried because personally I'm not a big H fan, but I think outside of that they've absolutely smashed their lineup for this year. So along with H as headliners, you've got acts like the 1975, Fred Again, The Prodigy, Wu-Tang Clan and Nas and Little Sims. I think their Sunday is the best day out of any festival that I've currently seen, with the day opening with Wu-Tang Clan and Nas, closing with the 1975, then you've got acts like Slow Tie, Self-Esteem and JPEG Mafia thrown in there. Then you've got other acts like No Worries and Skrillex appearing over the weekend as well. I know that a lot of people go to Parklife for the dance acts as well, and I think this year it is your kind of run-of-the-mill Parklife Warehouse Project dance scene, which, if that's for you, yeah, it's a good lineup. I think they've done really well, but I don't think there's that big dance name that people were expecting outside of Fred Again. Parklife done a wonderful job this year. You're going to see me there on the Sunday for the 1975, Wu-Tang Clan and Nas. Now, moving on to the mid-tier festivals, you've got 4 kind of options here. My personal favourite out of your 4 mid-tier festivals is Kendall Calling. I think they absolutely smashed my expectations and a lot of other people's expectations with their lineup this year. Your headliners this time around being Kasabian, Royal Blood, Blossoms and Nile Rodgers and Chick on the Thursday. I'm not massively huge on Royal Blood, but I can't deny they are a headline act at this point. I think Kasabian are a really good live band along with Blossoms and Nile Rodgers. And then elsewhere on the festival you got Rick Astley, Example, Scouting for Girls, Natalie and Ruglia, Jack Mate's Happy Hour. I think Kendall is a really good festival lineup this year. Now, across that same weekend that Kendall Calling's happening, you've also got Why Not in the Peak District, with the headliners being Royal Blood, Kasabian, Paul Weller and Bombay Bicycle Club on the Thursday, along with the Wombats, James and DMAs as your sub-headliners. I'm not as huge on this one as the Why Not lineup. Like I said, I'm not too keen on Royal Blood, and I think Paul Weller is an odd choice to have, but elsewhere on the lineup, you've got acts like Maisie Peters and Everything Everything. Sophie Ellis Bextor and Circa Waves are there as well. And then further down the lineup, I think you've got some really good acts that are going to bring people in, like Courtin and Wonderhorse. Now, the week before, the same company that puts on Why Not and Kendall are going to be putting on Truck and Tramlines. So we'll start with Truck Festival. The headliners this year being Two Door Cinema Club, Alt J and Royal Blood, with the Wombats playing on the Thursday. I think Two Door Cinema Club and Alt J are two like really good picks for headliners and came right out of the blue. And then you got DMAs, The Vaccines and Self Esteem sub-headlining. I think Truck have done a really good job as well with their undercard. Again, you've got Maisie Peters and Circa Ways performing alongside acts like Swim Deep, Connie Constance and Wonderhorse again. Although I think what else Truck have done really well is their comedy section with Jonathan Pye and Sean Walsh as your comedy headliners. I've heard really good things about Truck Festival and I might try and give it a go if I can. But I think just on lineup, they've done a really good job. Now, what might be my least favourite lineup of the year is Tramlines, with the headliners being Richard Ashcroft, Cortinas, and Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott. 3 headliners I do not care for in the slightest. Although I do think there are a few standout names elsewhere on the lineup. Acts like DMAs, Block Party, Blossoms, and the Cortinas are all pretty solid. Sugar Babes are there, which is hilarious. About You Now by Sugar Babes, still a banger. Still is an absolute banger. I don't have a lot to say on this lineup. It exists, it's cool. If you like it, good for you, not for me. My personal pick for lineup of the year currently goes to Boardmasters. I think they've done an absolutely wonderful job with it this year. Currently our 2 headliners stand at Liam Gallagher and Florence and the Machine, with that Liam Gallagher being a UK exclusive set. Obviously we still are waiting on one more headliner. And you got acts like Little Sims, Forte and Example sub-headlining. And then I think elsewhere they've done a really good job as well. You got acts like Dylan, Jockstrap, Connie Constance and Wonderhorse all on the lineup, and some really good names in the dance section like Dimension. Now we are still waiting on one final headliner for Boardmasters. Who that will be, it's up to anyone to guess. And then last but not least, we've got Wireless Festival, which is the only festival this year to be like a heavy rap festival. In past years, obviously Parklife and Reading and Leeds have all had really strong rap acts, but this year it seems that Festival Republic just kind of went, right, we're going to front load Wireless. But I think it has worked out for them. Our headliners this year being Playboy Carti, Travis Scott and D-Block Europe, with a special guest appearance by 50 Cent. I'm not sure why D-Block are headlining. I think they are a bit shit. And that seems to be the general reaction online to this lineup, is you've got 2 really good headliners in Playboy Carti and Travis, but then D-Block just are there because the budget went, especially when you got 50 Cent there as well. I'm not too keen on the Sunday as a whole, obviously being the D-Block day, but I think the Friday and Saturday are both really solid. Acts like Lil Uzi, Metro Boomin, Heady One, Bryson Tiller, Joey Badass, all being really good acts to have. Obviously the big name for a lot of people here is Travis Scott, but I think most people are going to be happy. He's drawn a crowd, he's sold tickets for him. Sure, let's do it. Now that's been all the UK festival lineups that we've currently got for this year. I've probably missed a few, but I don't care. Like I said, I think some of these lineups are really, really solid. Some of these lineups aren't the best, but I think it's going to be a good year for festivals. So to keep up to date with all the festival tips, tricks and news, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. I think that's where we're going to leave it for today's episode of the Festival Field Guide after going through all of the major festival lineups for the year. I've been Sam Land, this has been Culture Shock. I'll catch you again.